Hey everybody, it is Cinnamon Cooney, your Art Sherpa, and I want to welcome you to part 2 of the Apple and Grape Still Life course. That's where I'm meeting at 3 different times to complete a painting together. We are going to go over everything you need to know to complete this. If you haven't seen part 1, be sure and check the description down below, and the mods will be throwing it up in live chat. On the mic is my husband, John.
Hello.
He's helping me bring this 3-parter class to you by making sure that we know what part we're on, what step we're on.
Come on, now, don't get me too much credit. I might miss what step we're on.
To make sure the camera is pointing at what I'm teaching and demonstrating, because what I can explain in detail and you can see clearly, you can duplicate at home and get a really good result. Now, if you check that description, if you open up the show more, you'll see the materials list there. That's the complete materials list. I'm only putting out paint as we need it to use it because I have a stay wet palette. If you have a stay wet palette, it's okay if you put everything out, but we're going to go over the materials again today. We're going to go over them each time we get together, so don't worry, you don't have to remember that. The traceable is on the website ready for download. So if you're wanting to catch up, that's where that will be. If you're here for the live stream, put your questions all in caps. We will not think you're yelling at us. And we have a lot of amazing volunteers that are butterflies. You'll notice they're butterfly colors and they have little wrenches. There are moderators, but they're not really art cups. They're more like guides and hosts and facilitators. And so they'll help you find all these resources that I'm just mentioning off the cuff willy-nilly that you might be like, wait, what was that? They're very good at finding all that, and they're just people just like you who painted with me a long time, and they know where all the videos are, so it's okay to ask questions. And during the show you might get your question answered live, because these are live and unrehearsed. I didn't practice this painting ahead of time. We're doing this from the reference photo and we're doing it live. I think I've explained that enough that you can make me mini.
Make
me mini, and we can jump in on the materials.
I can see clearly now the camera's on.
I like it. I'm with you. We don't have a singing channel.
We don't have a singing channel.
For a lot of spelling and singing we don't do over here, or math.
We're going to review the materials again?
We're going to go over the materials again. So I'm painting on an 11 by 14 canvas. This is part 1 completed, which is the underpainting. The canvas itself is an Art Alternatives Classic Cotton. You'll notice there's a link. Shameless plug. I'm going to give you a shameless plug. A link to my store below. I do sell the canvases there, and the art materials that you see here are available for sale in my store. But they're also available internationally, so you don't have to worry about, like, you have to get them from me. You don't. They're available places because I work with great companies that other people like to work with. I see VRAs. I'm digging the pink hair. Thank you so much. I'm digging having pink hair. Okay, we're going to go over the colors on the palette again. Right over here, we have a little bit of Mars Black. We have Burnt Sienna, Yellow Ochre, Phthalo Green, Cad Yellow, Quinacridone Magenta, Dioxazine Purple, Cad Red Medium. I have Titanium White here, and this product right here is the Satin Glazing Liquid by Golden Artist Colors. That's where everything is. I just put a lid on my palette from our last painting session and left it all week, and the paint's still good, so I can paint on that. And if you're like, wow, that's really cool, I like that, that's also at my store. So, shameless plugs. I try to keep the ads to a minimum here, but on occasion
we gotta turn the lights on, and we keep the lights on.
We gotta turn the lights on and keep the lights on.
We have an e-commerce store where you can buy art supplies. Surprise! We're not gonna sneak up on you. That's what we do. And they're good ones too. There's good art supplies from good people who support their products.
Yeah, so
that's why we do it.
That's why we do it.
But now we go on to the steps.
Now we go on to the step.
After I have
Step 8 is gonna be great. All right, I'm gonna grab an oval mop. This is this one happens to be the 3/4 inch oval mop. You could use a 1 inch oval mop, but I'm going to use a 3/4 inch. I'm going to get it wet, and then I'm going to wring it out with a towel. I have a paint towel in my lap, and I will throughout this class be wringing out brushes, the excess water from my brushes, getting them back to damp with that towel, and also wiping off extra paint. That's just something that goes on that you might not see or be aware of if you're new to painting, and I just want to make you aware that that's happening. I'm using my glazing liquid here just to improve the flow, and I'm going to grab some burnt sienna, and we're going to make my favorite little dark green. I'm going to come up over here to the corner, and we're going to start adding this rich background that we worked a little bit on at the beginning. Making that nice and dark. We might get some little blenders in here too, but we just want to make sure that we've got nice dark colors. All around here. It's okay if you overpaint the apple or a leaf or whatever, because we're still in that underpainting to painting stage. And that gives us a lot of forgiveness. Now you can see that depth of color that we're wanting to see. Adding a little more burnt sienna to my green. I'm come over here in the upper right quadrant. This is the upper right quadrant. Like I'm talking about a quadrant of space. The upper right nebula quadrant.
Since we're doing just some backgrounding stuff.
I'm just glad we got the right direction of the canvas, because sometimes I could say, just know this about me. I'm quirky. The hair might have indicated there's some quirk here, but I'm right-left challenged. So it's okay. The people who know me will be like, that's going to be actually left. I'm just going to bring this around a little bit.
Questions for you.
All right. I'm going to blend this down here. Oh, thank you, Vera. Thank you, Heather C. Thank you so much.
Okay, so Nancy would like to know, if I do not have a canvas surface, could I use a paper surface to do this?
You can. What is challenging about paper is initially the blending. So my recommendation is to just either seal it and apply gesso, which I still think makes a thirsty piece of paper, or just do 3 layers of acrylic paint, which will seal up the paper and make it better for blending. And you could just do the original color we did, which was the burnt sienna. So that first bit we did, you could just, actually, if you did the first bit we did with the gloss glazing liquid and the burnt sienna and you made the glaze over it, it probably would seal the paper just on its own. And it'll make the tracing process a little bit easier for you. Now, as I'm going through here, I'm going to come back over, adding a little bit of burnt sienna into my green. And I'm going to get a little bit of my yellow ochre over into that. It lightens it up a bit. I'm going to start working these 2 little colors together. Gloss glazing liquid involved. It's a busybody color.
It's a really cool background. I have to agree.
Yeah, we're just doing a nice bokeh blended background with a little bit of moodiness to it. It's a little bit of mood. It's a mood.
Janine thought it was really cool.
I'm so glad. I really liked it. And it's nice to know how to do this type of background. I'm kind of careful around the leaf there. Now, I will work this color a little more in the yellow through here, and then I'm going to come back with some white and kind of lighten it up and make it more foggy or smoky, as you might imagine. Because even though we have a reference photo, guess what? It's just a reference. I get my reference photo, this one came from Shutterstock. You're like looking for it. That's why I don't hand them out, is because you got to have a membership at Shutterstock, but I'm using it within its allowed use.
We can use it for a reference together here, but we can't provide it to you.
Can't distribute it.
Can't distribute it.
Where they write angry little letters.
So we have to abide by the rules.
And that's okay.
But you can see it right here in the picture.
At the end of the painting session, I provide the painting, and so you can use that as a reference as well. And I would highly recommend you actually do that. Mm-hmm. Now that's pretty nice, and that's glowing. I'm going to get a little more glazing liquid on here, and I'm going to grab a smidge of white.
A smidge.
A smidge. Kind of lightly dust in a little bit of. Wait, see how that's dramatic?
It is drama.
You want some drama on your canvas, not on your life. Oh my gosh, too much drama going on in life right now. Too much. But on your canvas, a little drama is fantastic.
Now, I may have just asked you this, but I, my brain's been all over the place.
Me too.
So let's ask another question of the same over again. See if this question can be asked.
I've had a little bit going on with my brain lately as well.
Did I ask you about gouache?
You did not ask me about gouache.
Could you do this in gouache?
You could. Some of the techniques might be a little bit different, and I recommend Gurney, Gurney, is an artist if you're interested in gouache. I might do some gouache lessons in the future, but if you need some gouache lessons right now, that's who I recommend. He's an interesting artist. He does really good videos, and he's very informed, and he doesn't say things I have to correct later. So that's the thing you have to worry about as an art teacher when he sends somewhere. Is like, am I going to have to correct this information, or can we keep it?
Right.
And he doesn't say a bunch of wildly inaccurate things that I'm like, no, you can't do that, and it'll get you hurt. I'm just running this through here. Now, another thing I can do is I can come through with a dry brush and soften some of this a good bit if it hasn't dried yet. See how we're softening it?
Mm-hmm.
And it's these little value differences that are going on that really, really bring the painting together. Oh, it's lovely.
Lovely.
I'm going to rinse this out and the other one. And I'm going to dry them out with a paper towel. All right. James Gurney is amazing, says Anna Marie. Yeah, he is. James Gurney is one of those artists that you watch and you're like, he can do one of two things. He can inspire you, but sometimes if you're another professional artist, sometimes he make me like, well, I didn't go outside and plein air paint in the middle of the day for all day. You know, where you're like, oh, I should be out there working a little harder. He sometimes does that too. Not that he says anything like that. It's in your head. It's entirely in your head. He himself is perfectly lovely. But sometimes he gets in my head. But he's good. And you just got to respect good. I'm just kind of going back over it with my damp brush, just blending in and making sure that my bokeh, that's the diffusing and out of focusing of the background, is doing really nice. Because that's one of the things that I liked about this was that background being as blended as it was. Now make sure that this brush is all rinsed out and not one of the things that you will save the most money on. You can save some money buying hue instead of really pure cadmium pigment, right? And hey, there may even be some safety benefits to that. There are little ways that you can save money here and there, but the number one way to save money in your art is to wash your brushes and rinse the paint out of them, because you'll have to replace them less. But if you're not washing your brushes and you're not rinsing out the paint, you'll go through the brushes much quicker. They'll wear out much faster. All right, so we're going to call that a step. When we come back, I will show you what we're going to do next. Step 9. I think I might want to get a D brush out. I'll explain to you what that is. I think I might want to work on the wood a little bit. My wood. So D brush, this is a number 8 Raphael d'Art d'Alchimie D brush. And basically it has a rounded edge here, like a filbert, but it's also rounded. It's very thick, and then it's rounded through the back like a round blender. So it's 2 brushes in one. You could do this with just a filbert and be perfectly okay. I just have a little extra brush under the hood. It's like you can drive a car, and it doesn't. They don't all have to be the same kind of powerhouse, right? You can still drive on the road. I just have a little more in my brush. And if you think these are cool, I'll let the community tell you if they like their brushes. It's really actually supposed to be D-brush, but a funny thing happened with my mom, and so now it's D-brush. Now I'm going to come through here, and I'm going to want to do my brown, but I'm going to want to gray it. My favorite way, is going to come in with a little bit of black here, is normally ultramarine blue, but today I'm going to be doing it with black. I could get ultramarine blue out, and I might, but I'm going to start with the black. And we're going to make another deep chocolate. Come around our little grapes. And down the edge of the canvas so it doesn't look funny. I'm kind of scruffy with it. Getting scruffy with it. And I'm just going to work that back down the canvas to this far, far end. Woo! I think I just did a wee.
It's okay.
Wee! I might bring this up into my grapes a little bit because I want there to be kind of a nice shadow under here. And then I can go ahead and add a little more brown and yellow ochre because I like to make my wood very colorful. And I'm going to just start making rough little brush strokes, adding a little bit of color, layering it up. See, it's just subtle. It's okay to be subtle. I know I don't really exude subtle.
Can you speak on the subject of subtle?
I mean, I can speak on it, I just don't exude it. So sometimes there are colors that you put in a painting that on camera are close to the same value of light or dark, and maybe you don't see them as bright as they actually are, but on your surface you might be like, wow, this is like really noticeable, and it doesn't look as noticeable on hers. It does, but its cameras are not human eyes. Our eyes are quite complex, and we see things really, 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 really well. I think I may add some ultramarine blue. Gotta find it though. Ultramarine blue to my surface, to my palette. So I can get a nice gray mixing ultramarine blue and red together, and I can also get a nice gray mixing ultramarine blue and brown together. So this is going to make a nice gray. And we're going to use a little bit of white. This just looks like weathered wood. Wiping off on my towel. I'm making short, irregular brush strokes that mimic the texture of wood. These are not bright. Wood is so colorful. It's like clouds are surprisingly colorful. Wood is surprisingly colorful.
Yeah, I agree.
All right, let's go through here, and you'll notice this one is a bit lighter, and my brush pressure will start to lighten up now. I will start to lighten up. The brush pressure will start to lighten up. I might come back with the glaze and darken some of that because it'd be a little bit in shadow, but I want to start to see.
This is just sort of the edge of the table here.
Yeah, it's the beginning. It's not our finished wood. But it's our first thoughts about the wood. You can come back with a little bit of brown. Just painting that back in, kind of weaving that through. I'm thinking about the wood grain. Really, it's put in later with a fabulous grainer brush, but right now I want to put it in like this.
It's fabulous, darling.
Fabulous. Fabulous, darling wood. This wood is just terrific. We have so many feelings on it. So we're starting to see that come together. I'm going to rinse out. And I'm going to start working the top of the table.
Tabletop.
The tabletop.
Tabletop.
I'm taking a little of my yellow ochre and a little of my burnt sienna. And I'm kind of coming in and reaffirming that color. So this is a bit of an exaggeration, right? But we exaggerate in art. Not in life, though. Tell the truth in life, but in art we get to exaggerate, and that's what we're supposed to do. And that's kind of fun, because it doesn't hurt anybody. Just brushing this forward. Kind of paying attention to the grain. Now I've got a little area there with my dark green that I kind of want to do something with, but it's not what you expect, so I'm going to maybe put some little out of focus grapes back here. Take a little bit of my quinacridone and my purple. I'm going to make a little bit of a barely sketched in we don't see them very well, right? They're not in focus. They're a little out of focus.
You're talking about those little grapes over there.
Yeah, we got a little bit of grapes over here, and we're going to just show them a little bit of out of focus. Maybe grab a little more purple. And we'll probably come back with like a really, really soft blending brush to really blend those out. But those are showing over here, and that kind of is going to start filling in this space.
Cool.
Which is a lot of fun. I'll rinse that out. So we're starting to sketch that in. Then I'm going to come ahead over here, and I'm going to have a little bit of fun. I'm going to grab a little of my ultramarine blue and my Mars black. And this makes a color called Payne's Gray. You can also do it with phthalo blue and Mars black. Both of them are good.
So if you had Payne's Gray, you could just use that a little bit?
Yes, if you had, I have some actually. It's so funny that I make this. I have a whole tube, but I don't want you to have to go out and buy a tube.
How come you don't do that? How come you don't just use Payne's Gray?
In my studio, I have so many paint colors. I have all the quinacridones, the golds, the reds, the pinks, everyone. I have all the zincs. I have all the iridescents. I have all these different colors. But I try to limit my palette from project to project so that you consistently know that if you own my core colors, you can do most of my paintings and not have to go to the store, except when you run out of paint. Which is less frequently than you think.
So you're saying if you used more of those convenience colors, we would sell more paint in our store?
Mm-hmm.
Wow.
I know. And it probably seems tempting.
So, like,
we could just
be bankrolling it by saying, there's all these convenient colors. But instead you're actually teaching them color mixing?
Yeah, we are. We're actually doing color mixing, and so I'm trying to avoid getting into convenience colors. Is just a nice way of saying pigment you could probably mix a hue of.
I think you're undermining our e-commerce plan here.
I think I do undermine our e-commerce plan. I'm just adding a shadow underneath the grapes. I'm starting to think about the shadow underneath the apple. This is just the beginning. You can see I'm not being heavy with it. I'm just putting in the first thoughts of it. These are the first considerations.
The first?
I do tend to undermine the e-commerce.
No, that's all right. I mean, I think we're going to do okay.
We're also not that aggressive with our patronage. Mm-hmm. But if you would like to support me and be a patron, you can check me out over on Patreon.
We sell books on Amazon.
And we sell books on Amazon. Yep. There's 3 books. There's 3 out now. Bloom is out if you guys were looking for the year I taught flowers. And if you didn't know this, I did a daily painting for 30 days where I taught just flowers. And one of them is different kinds of paintings. And then the other one is abstracts.
The abstract is my favorite.
That is John's favorite. I'm going to come and add a little bit of shadow under these grapes. I know I'm going to come and adjust it. I know it's going to be different. But right now I'm just kind of adding a little bit of that. Come here and getting a little bit of my brown involved and maybe a little of my blue involved. Definitely a little bit of my white involved.
And yeah, Bella, Cinnamon has used lots of iridescent paints over the years.
Yeah. But I just try not to use them too much. Like, I do them as a demonstration, but I just don't use them as much because I know that that's a lot of shopping.
Now, we may do some stuff because we have been getting a lot of requests for showing off products that we normally don't show on our channel.
Yeah, I did a really cool oil pastel demo for the patrons.
Yeah.
And just really because there's just not enough education out there on oil pastels, and I'm really proud of it.
And it's fun.
And it's fun.
Which that may lead to more other fun that we will experiment with.
So this is just me kind of starting to add detail. See, we're just lightly adding detail. This is a dry brush, right? If I were to take the traceable and just sort of show you here, like, this is a very dry brush. See how dry that brush is? That's a dry brush.
Dry brush.
It's very scratchy. It's leaving little streaky brush strokes. And that only works because I keep pulling the moisture out of it with my towel.
Huh.
If it was very, very wet, it wouldn't do that very, very well. And I have a whole video on how to keep your particular brush the correct amount of wet. Coming in and adding a little bit of, like, maybe light. And I might pop that again, but we're just starting to think about how the light works on everything. Now I'm going to rinse this off.
So Amy over here thinks that we can't show off anything without Vanna White. And I'm like, Vanna doesn't have anything on these stunt hands.
You break my focus.
I know, it's my job.
So
what were you going to do anyway?
I don't even know now. It's let's do a new step. You broke me. Vanna White did me in. I was like, Vanna.
I'm reading the comments.
I'm just trying to. I just instantly saw John in Vanna's dress. The problem when you're an artist is that your imagination is like an AI image generator. It's instantly there. And so instantly, I'm just like, John's there going.
I couldn't fill it out, but I could wear it.
Yeah, you're very slender and tall. You have long hair. I feel like maybe we're missing a moment here.
I could turn the blocks.
Lindsay Massell says, John, we love you. And I say, Subbed Hashini says, hey, Mod Quinn. So we got friends. Oh, I'm late. Has it just started? And I hope I said your name correctly. I really try to do that. We're in a little bit. But we're not like deep in. But there was a part 1. So, which was a very kind of considered rendering in of our underpainting, getting that in.
Slightly less distracting than
Slightly less distracting.
Yeah.
All right, let's come work on the apple a little bit. I'm going to go ahead and...
Step 10, apple focus.
Apple focus. I'm going to grab a little bit of my Quinn and a little bit of my Cad Red together. I'm going to start coming here and thinking about how this apple is. Just getting some of the depth of the apple. I'm being very scratchy with my D brush. This is still the D brush. It could be any brush, though. I don't want you to feel like it would have to be this brush. It could be any brush. Could be any. But it does happen to be this one. And I do like them. But I'll probably get into a filbert grainer, round brushes, filberts. I like mini brushes. I have many brushes, and this is but one brush. And we're using these brush strokes in a very streaky manner to sort of talk a bit about the apple a little more.
True.
Because that's what we're having a conversation with the viewer. Even in a still life, we're constantly conversing with the viewer. Now, one thing that I can do...
That's so meta. Are we talking about the viewer watching this show, or the viewer watching your painting, or
the
people
viewer
watching
that
your
sees
painting?
Your painting hanging on the wall. The conversation that doesn't involve you anymore. You painted the painting and you put it on the wall, and now you find out how you communicated yourself to the world.
Except that was like the whole point of my final piece was to observe the observer.
That's true. You're a bit of a looky-loo. I'm adding a little bit of this darker color. This is a purple and red. Right? We're closer to the table. We are blocking light. And because light is being blocked, right, we know our light source is coming in and there's less light getting to the bottom. So we have to have a shadow under the apple, and we want to have a shadow down here as it curves over because the light is blocked from getting there. Still lifes are important because they really, really teach these concepts. I'm just brushing this in a little more of that detailing. And remember how we curve our brush stroke, where when we're painting to the right, we curve to the right. When we're painting to the left, we curve to the left. And when we're at the center, we sort of straighten up. They're talking about the Sherpa retreat. July 15th to the 19th. Do we have even a ticket left? I'm a little worried.
Oh my, maybe? Maybe? I don't know. I think I saw some activity in the e-commerce center, but we haven't
checked it.
Well, they haven't processed for the day, I don't believe. So
oh, okay.
I don't know. My updated information's a little bit behind.
Your updated information.
If you want to look,
it's not final.
No.
I'm gonna put this a little bit to the side because I'm wanting a smaller brush. This is my 8, so I'm gonna put my little 8 back in the brush bucket. And I want a little more detail, and I want a little more control over what I can see. Right? So I'm going to put my vision enhancers on. Ooh, I know what's going on. I'm going to go ahead and come in and add a little yellow to this red and quinacridone mixture over here. Let's come over a little more red. And come to this side and start to make little yellow spots. Now we've got lots and lots and lots we're going to do, and we're going to come back over things more than one time. So don't feel trapped or like worried about where you're at in the process. See, I'm making short brush strokes. Now, as we go into the purple, if the purple's still wet, it will gray some of this little yellow bit. So this is just a tiny D brush. It's a 0. You could also use a round brush here. You could very carefully come through with a round brush.
See ya on the replay, Bella.
See you on the replay. So we keep these paintings up. So you can see I can just use a round brush. It's just a little more effort. That's okay. Effort's okay. You don't have to have an effortless painting. You have to have an enjoyable painting.
Sorry, I was sipping my coffee. I have to say that effortless paintings may not result in, a feeling of accomplishment. Something you have to work at oftentimes brings with it a satisfaction of accomplishment. So,
You're trying to make me feel better that I work at it right now?
No, I mean, that's just genuinely in life. I don't like to do things that are easy. It's,
That's a true story about you.
I mean,
you do not take the easy way up the hill at all. If you're like, where's the advanced hike?
Well, I mean,
where's the hike with bears and alligators? Where's that hike? Right? Like
body providing cooperation.
What's the hardest tent and the largest tent we could put up?
Well, sure, yeah. Because why not?
I'm like, this is me. I'm like, what tent goes up? Like, what's the tent that you throw?
And it explodes
and then
into
it's a tent.
It turns into a condo.
And it turns into a condo. That's my tent.
Then you just roll up in an airstream.
But this Boy Scout over here is like, no, we can build it. And he like pulls out like wood poles. I'm like, what are you doing? We're like early dating.
Lashing.
And I'm like, this tent is just too wild for me, man. And come up here and I'm going to add a little more of this yellow up top. Just painting it along. So I'm just taking care of myself and I'm taking care of my brain here. So that's why you see me painting kind of gently with myself. That's what we're trying to do, is just paint a little gently with ourselves. I like to get a little bit of this around. Make the apple a little more interesting. Interesting apple. You can see it can kind of wiggle here and smudge. Wiggle and smudge, wiggle and smudge, wiggle and smudge, wiggle and smudge. It's a whole move. Is this a Honey Crisp? Is this a Golden Delicious? No, it's not Golden Delicious. Is this an Envy? There's so many apples now. There's all these designer apples now.
It's a red apple.
I'm always like, oh my goodness, how many apples are we doing today? And take a little bit of my Cad Red and my Doc's Purple again. I'm just making sure. I've got a nice little sort of shadow here. Doesn't go all the way to the leaf. And go over some of the yellow that I've done. It's just an area we're darkening. But we're not using black, so it keeps the painting colorful and gemmy. Like an oil painting. Amy Ovar's like Harry Potter tint. Yeah, like, oh my goodness. We were in a group called the Society for Creative Anachronism, and they would build period tents. And these are things you have to sew by hand, and you have to have tree trunks to put up. And John's like, what is the tallest tent we could possibly make? Because he just wanted to be able to have the most people over for a party. But I was like, man, can we just have like what's the easy tent?
It's sort of, well, that's not exactly how it started. So what started is that there's a type of tent that uses a center ridge pole and has spoke wheels that go out that were period, and they were among the biggest tents that were able to be produced at the time. And so that led me go, okay, well, what is the biggest one that we could theoretically make? And then we ran the numbers.
Theoretically
and it was like,
the key word there.
That's actually not that much material. What would it take to sew that together? Not that much time. Okay, let's give it a try. And we did it. And then we built this awesome thing. And when we lost everything in Canada, I lost that tent.
Yes.
Which was very sad.
It was very sad.
So I don't have it anymore.
But, we realized that's a theme for us because we've had...
I would like another big tent.
We had the Canadian situation, and we've had a house fire. And then we had like a complete bad business deal that just went pear-shaped on us. And these things sometimes leave us with like less things than we started.
You end up with a
We're getting pretty good at it now. It's how we clean up. I've decided now, like, having somebody steal from us is how we clean up. That's how that goes. Like, it's fire sales because we're moving. That's our cleanup process. I need to come up with a different type of organization strategy.
It needs to be better, something better than you get to keep what fits in a 12 by 12 truck.
Oh. Or something better like you have this long blah, 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 blah.
Stuff.
Yeah, we don't love it. It's not our favorite. But, stuff happens in life. And you just roll with it. Because what are you going to do, stop? No, you can't stop. You got to keep going.
Collecting is half the fun.
It's good we feel that. Collecting is half the battle. Well, we've won that battle. I'm taking a little ultramarine blue over to my Mars black, and I'm just strengthening the shadow under the grapes. And I think I'm going to get a little green on my brush, John.
Green?
Green.
That sounds like a good
green
color.
on my brush. And I'm going to come here. I think I might actually do this with my round. I'm going to hold this brush in my hand. Come over here and just pick up a little of my green. This is my burnt sienna, my phthalo green, and now a little yellow ochre. And I'm going to just fussily paint a little green right here. And if you're wondering, how do you know where to put the table? Right? I'm going to just make sure I have a nice little line here. And then there's a little line here.
So,
I'm using my T-square to make sure that the bit of the background that is peeking through, which I'm now sort of carefully painting. Isn't that nice? Just put that in later and it starts to create a little depth and dimension.
in complexity, This painting's been broken up into 3 parts.
Yeah, so the first part is about a 1 hoot. It's the easiest part of the painting. And then now we're into kind of the 2 hoot part of the painting, where we're starting to add a little more value and detail and structure, letting the painting come into resolution as you might want to, as you do.
And a hoot being a 1 to 3 arbitrary scale of difficulty that you have created.
Yeah, well, it's not really that arbitrary. A 1 hoot is something around an hour and is very beginner friendly, and you don't have to have a lot of colors and a lot of tools to do. A 2 hoot is a little more in depth, more complex color mixes, more colors might be involved. The painting might go over 2 hours. This one won't, because I can't paint over 2 hours right now. But if you collect them together, now we will have painted for 2 hours, so that ups that's why it ups. And then on this third part of the painting, we're going to come in with a lot more details and resolution and pull it all together into our still life, kind of making our still life more lush and yummy and delicious. And so that was my plan for this 3-part series, and that lets you guys enjoy the painting with me.
That makes sense.
All right, I'm going to take a little bit of my burnt sienna again.
New step?
No.
No, same. Okay, just make sure.
And I'm going to grab a little Mars Black, burnt sienna, rolling in on here. And I'm going to go ahead and make sure that I don't lose my little stem clusters that are sort of coming down here into the, how long since we've had a step?
I don't know. I don't time it.
Okay. I'm going to paint on the grapes, so let's call the grapes a new step.
Okay, we can do that. The 11th grape step.
The 11th grape step. So the first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to take a little of my phthalo green and my burnt sienna and my cad yellow, I think. I'm going to come in, and there's going to be... Okay, so we've got some 2 back grapes. Maybe a little bit of a kind of green grape right here. Well, that's a nice little green grape peeking in. And let's do a lot more yellow and a little burnt sienna. And again, if this has to be a 4-parter, we'll do it. What we're doing is we're going to keep this chill. If you're really new to me, normally I do these in one sitting live. And if you're not sure, check out any of the Halloween series I've ever done where you're like, is that a 4-hour painting? Yeah, it is. And we do it live. But I had a thing happen where I can't do that right now. And so as part of my wellness and recovery, I am painting in shorter sessions, which is working really well. And I want to come in here and kind of paint this whole area in a little green. I didn't want to skip this part of the painting because I really, really enjoyed the little peaks of green with the little stems coming through. I felt like it made the purple grapes even more purple. So you'll notice this green grape's a little darker than that background grape. Let's come down here and pick a little, we're going to make that one a green one. Come here, you're going to be green. And it's like, I don't want to be green. Well, it doesn't matter, that's what you're going to be. These are almost like globular grapes.
Globular grapes.
Again, our references, they're not strict instructions that you have to adhere every second to. You can, if that gives you joy. And there's nothing wrong with it at all. But it's not what references are for. References are to help us understand light and the way images are constructed. And then our arty brains are allowed to just do what they like in relationship to that. I'm going to add a little bit of a peak of a green grape coming out right here. Come up and make this one quite green. It's a nice green one right there. We're not shading or anything. We're just kind of catching those little values, right? I might even come through with a little bit of this like yellow green through here so that's not just one kind of green. And down at the bottom at the base of this grape. But we're just making it more interesting because it would be. Now I'm going to lightly dry brush some grapes in the background, sort of out of focus grapes. Dry brush means I don't have a lot of water on my brush and I have a light amount of paint, so it's not going to give me a crisp line. It's going to give me an out of focus line. That's too yellow. Am I missing any questions?
Let's see here. Elizabeth is eating some grapes right now.
I love grapes. I love to eat grapes, Elizabeth. I just love them.
Grapes and blue cheese.
Mmm.
And then everyone's like, yuck, blue cheese.
I don't know. I think a lot of people like blue cheese, which is why it sells. I don't. But then you like mushrooms.
I do.
I'm taking mushrooms right now, though. That's one of the things that I'm doing in my wellness path is I'm taking lion's mane mushrooms in a supplement because I can't eat them.
From the Stamets Farms.
Yeah, from the Paul Stamets, yeah. We're just kind of making some little patterning back here. This is little parts of the still life. We know it's there. We're seeing it. This one's going to have a little bit of green in it. So we're just painting a little bit of what it is. A little bit of drama. A little bit of drama on our grapes. Look at our grapes being all dramatic. A lot of people love mushrooms and a lot of people like the blue cheese. So you're not alone, John.
No.
I'm going to take a little bit of my Quin Magenta.
I actually like blue cheese on tomatoes with red wine and vinegar. And salt and pepper.
That actually almost does sound good, though.
It is.
We should go by the store.
To the plum market.
Yeah, really.
Where they sell cheeses for more money than cheese could possibly cost.
This is true. Now we go all, like to the Aldi.
Generally to the Aldi has a good selection of cheeses.
And the Canadian quarter works in the cart.
It's true. Our you know, there's still a lot of Canadian currency floating around up here. There's enough, you know, we're just a stone's throw from the border, so it does make its way around.
Just kind of a little more magenta. Let's maybe some magenta and green over here. So I'm doing some magenta and then I'm going to come and get into some green. And that should be very interesting. I like that. Now we have some depth. Depth. So I'm going to take some purple and some ultramarine blue. And I'm going to kind of come in and what I'm going to do is I'm going to paint a little shadow between the grapes. This is very dark. I'm not using black though.
It's just a very, very dark color.
Just a very, very, very dark color. This brush is a number 6 Raphael Sepia. It's a nice round brush. And come under the grapes too. Just getting a little dimension on there. Pulling through the shadow. You can't see the light without a little shadow. And I keep trying to tell myself that when things are difficult or challenging. You can't see the light without a little shadow. Though sometimes in the middle of it, it's not really that comforting. But a lot of times the things that we do and learn in painting do relate to real life. So we're just starting to like let these grapes take shape. Let there be grapes. I can wiggle my brush and kind of blend this dark shadow up. I can see an area where I'm like, oh, you better join that little table shadow. Just paying attention to what's there. Just pulling that through. Adding a little bit down here. We also take pictures of these step by step at each step and kind of put out a little bit of a step by step instructionlet, a little pamphlet. They come out a little bit after the show, or sometimes a lot after the show, but they do, and there's hundreds of them free on the website. Some of them are practically their own novels. Add a shadow in here. You're doing great. You got this. It's just grapes. It's just grapes. Isn't it crazy how it starts to come together? It isn't anything, and then it starts to be something. I'm leaving a little spot there to come back with some green for. Just painting along here. We're doing so good. You're doing so good. Sometimes I'll get my glazing medium to improve flow. Not because I'm trying to glaze or blend, but because it does a really good job of improving flow. Just paying attention to the shadows between the grapes. I'm going to add a little pop of green up there. Right here. That's not terrible. I'm going to come through with a little bit of my quinacridone and my dioxazine purple. Or dioxazine purple. Paint that in. It's going to get real dark real fast. Glazy medium. Just going to glaze these all in with this color, deepening them up. Let them have some depth, man. Just painting them in. So you'll see when you're on it on your naked eye that there's a shadow in there that's just a little bit darker than these very dark grapes. I like my glazing medium for this. One thing I'm pretty used to doing is like painting a grape a darker color and then realizing I want it to be a lighter color grape. So some of these I may go back. And if I'm like, oh no, there was a green one here, and I really want to add it back in, I might. Right now I just want to get the depth of the grapes in. They're deeply dimensional, these grapes. Deeply, deeply dimensional. Take the glazing medium. The glazing medium just makes easy work of a hard job. Doing well. Now, John, is Creativation open to the public?
I do not know if I go check real quick. I don't know if it has a.
If we check, that might be a good thing because we're going to be there and people could come by and say hi if you're in New Orleans.
Check it out real quick. It says lots of members.
Yeah, sometimes they close these events up. And I may be in a closed area.
Okay, yeah, so it looks like education is 23rd, 24th, which are generally closed workshops that you have to sign up for, oftentimes put on by manufacturers and things. And then the trade show is the 25th through the 27th.
Oh.
So, you know,
we're a trade show. That's a bummer.
There's no public.
Well, if you work in the art materials trade, if you work in art materials and you want to come by and say hi, I'll be there.
Well, we'll be meeting up with like Alexander Cruz and a couple other people we know.
I hope so. I hope Alexander can come up.
Yeah, he's gonna be there. I messaged him. We're gonna be doing some stuff.
Did you? Yep. I was gonna message him. Alexander Cruz is an artist who we met through our art connections, and he's a really cool studio in Puerto Rico.
That sounds correct.
And you can go there. And he's a really fantastic teacher. He actually was like the youngest person to ever be Bob Ross certified.
Yeah, I'm not sure if I say it's Bayamon. Bayamon. I'm not sure how to say the town. I don't have a sophisticated tongue.
We really do not. We really shouldn't be allowed out of the house. Do you notice we're just glazing these little grapes as we're visiting and talking about the world? Anyways, someday, you will blow us all away. So we're gonna, yeah, my kids went through the Hamilton thing too. I hope to do something with him someday because he's a lot of fun. And I'll get to see Mark Montano. I should message him.
Yeah.
So it's just a fun thing I get to do. I could do art education for people in art education. Look at that. Our grapes are getting quite dark, quite delicious, quite juicy. They're no longer dried out raisins. They're starting to be dark grapes. They're not wrathy grapes. They're not grapes of wrath. No.
The grapes of friends.
That's all the grapes I want. The grapes of friends. Which I will be seeing at my art retreat. Yay! Oh, and at my art retreat, you could meet Andrew Cook and Delphine. And Andrew's going to come in and do art education and art materials. And Delphine's going to come in and teach Centangles. And I'm going to come in and paint too much with you. You go, you can never paint too much with me. Yeah, no, I'm going to find that line. And I'm going to blur it. Because, maximalist. So what I'm doing by talking to you and by working is I'm keeping a long task a fairly interesting task. Right? And that's some of the work of what we do is we start to make long tasks fairly interesting tasks.
They are fairly interesting tasks.
Glaze this up here. A little bit of green glazed up into that. Look at us go. Man, we have like the whole start of something. We're starting something. Gonna be starting something. We sing. We're just not good at it. Don Cox says, I'm pretty sure that no one is enjoying themselves during a long stint of painting is getting up and down and probably even going to the potty once or twice. Oh, wow. Oh, it's so true. All right, let's call this a step and we'll continue to enrich our painting. Let's enrich it with step 12.
It's enriched.
It's enriched. You've enriched it enough, but we'll enrich it some more. I am going to use an angle brush. I'm going to use a half-inch angle brush.
I don't know if it's enriched like an aperture science enrichment, but it's
aperture science. We do what we must because we can. Now I'm going to just use phthalo green right here and not mix it with some burnt sienna or anything else. I'm going to just start with my phthalo green. And that's because these green leaves and the green behind are in the same value, the how light or dark it is. But these have a different hue. So I'm going to exaggerate that a good bit. Because we want them to be rich and gemmy. I like using an angle brush because it gives me a lot of control. This is the Catalyst by Princeton Polytip Bristle angle brush. The other thing to keep in mind is that phthalo green is a very transparent color. So we'll lose some of the visual of the leaf a little bit, but not all of it. It's actually holding up quite nicely. Just bringing this through here. Looking nice, looking nice. Just pulling that in, glazing that over. So I didn't even need to add glazing medium to have a glaze with these. Now I'm going to come into my green gold up in here. Just kind of get it on my brush. And I might come here and green gold this back leaf a little bit. See how I'm doing? I can always come back into this green here and be like, at the tip, be like, a little more green. I have all the control that I want to have. Come up here to the top of this leaf. Pull this down just a little bit. Maybe add a small amount of glow here. Curling that brush stroke out to the tip of this leaf, just a titch. And then right here. So these are just light little value changes. I'll go ahead and get into my white, and this was from earlier. This was my burnt sienna, my phthalo green, a little yellow ochre, and some white. And now I'm mixing a little of my white into it. And I'm going to start to work into that. Just capturing a little bit of the little value and reflection on the leaf. Bringing that back up here, so my little brush stroke right there at the tip, and I'm just blending right on in here. All right. Woo, we're doing super good. I'm going to rinse that off. I'm going to go ahead and I think I want something a little more controlled. So I'm going to grab a number 2 precision. I'm going to come over to my gold and my brown. Make a little line there. Top kind of coming down. Coming there. And then I'll add some highlights to the top of the stem. And come over with a little bit of white into my yellow. And this is the green gold. So this is burnt sienna, phthalo green, cad yellow, and titanium white now. Roll my brush a bit. Just think about that center stem being maybe a little bit lighter than it has been, you know. A little bit there too. That one will probably go dark again. Like a Vegas show. Sorry, that's weirdly random reference. rinsing out. Come up here with a little dark line up through this leaf. I can capture it. Come right next to my light line.
You know, I have noticed that we left the grapes.
We have left the grapes.
We probably should have stepped when we left the grapes.
We should step.
We should do a step now.
Yeah, I was about to go back to the grapes just to be ironically funny. But I was.
Give them a step here just in case. Because I've noticed that you've gone. We can go to grapes though. If you want to go to grapes.
I'm gonna add a little bit of stem in there. We're just breaking that up. Because you'd see stems, wouldn't you?
Mm-hmm.
There we go. Maybe a little something there and there. Not bad. Not terrible. Don't hate it. It's doing okay. Put these aside. And we're on a new step still, right?
Yeah.
I'm going to grab a brush. This is a round blender. This is the number 12 Princeton Select Round Blender. I'm going to go ahead and take a little of my purple over to my ultramarine. And we get a little bit of my titanium white involved. A little bit of blue. And I might get my glazing medium involved. This is the first go at this, so we're going to see how this works. Looking good. We're just thinking about that. I think I may come back through actually with a sharper brush because this is really diffused. So I'm going to switch to my round, my sepia. Same color though. And use the wiggle method. Tried and true, the wiggle method. We're doing great.
Yeah.
Great, babe. That was the ultramarine blue, the ox purple, a little bit of white, some glazing medium, and I'm on my number 6 sepia. Just jumping around like a little ghost shrimp. Jumping around, popping like popcorn. Adding a little highlight. It's just the first thought of them. This isn't the only thought we're going to have. It's just the first thought. We're not going to wear ourselves out. We're going to pay attention to how we feel. Make sure our bodies are doing okay. You know, it's a good idea after these painting sessions to get up and move around a little bit. Stretch your legs, stretch your body, take a walk, move some stuff. If you want to have a really interesting experience, if you go to your doctor, if this is a thing that you can do, if this is something that's accessible in your life, and just let them know that you're sitting and painting for long sessions and that you'd like to go to a physical therapist for exercises you can do to get up out of the chair easier. There's a whole bunch of fascinating ones. My mom's got a bunch about the way you rub fluid out of your knees. I've got a bunch of them about how you reopen your chest. And those are all from your physical therapist. They're really cool. So if that's a thing you can do, you might enjoy that thing. Tai Chi's good. Something gentle, just to get you going again. A walk, something. Because these long stints of sitting are long stints of sitting. We're just going to go ahead and... You're typing. Typing like you're Mike Draper.
Oh, no.
That's an us reference.
I'm just chatting with Alexander Cruz, actually, was just coordinating times and places with me on Facebook.
I'm so excited. So excited. Oh, and he's also certified with Bill Alexander and a bunch of other artists, and it's just, you can get certified with him, and it's just really cool. He's very cool. He's very, very cool. And where he lives is magical. If you can travel. I keep saying when I have a retreat down there. I got to get better, of course.
Yeah. Good.
Say we're just adding some highlights to some grapes. We're still just blocking in. We're still just working out our thoughts. We're still just finding the still life. And this is something I like about still lives, because there's a whole nice period where you're just finding the still life, and you don't have to be like that hard on yourself. Don't worry if you overlight an area. We can come back with glazing medium and darken whole grapes. So right now we're exaggerating the highlights because we can. We have tools. We have the tools. We have the technology. If you like a real human teaching you how to paint, you should definitely hit that subscribe button and that like button, because pretty soon I think you're going to have a robot teaching you to paint. So if you'd like to continue to paint with somebody like me, make sure that you hit that subscribe button. Not here. I'm not going to have one of those here. Like.
No, I think that just in general, the robots are coming. The robots are coming.
I mean, like, if it'll organize my shoe rack, maybe I'm open to it. I just need to know, can it help me declutter? And then maybe. But I've read a lot of sci-fi, so I don't know how I'm going to be. I'm continuing to wiggle my brush. I'm just adding little kind of dustings. These are fun little, it's that fun little, we're going to exaggerate this a lot as we go. We exaggerate our wood green, exaggerate the structure of our apple, exaggerate all of this. It'll be super fun. Someday, you will blow us all away. So my betta fish, if you follow my personal account on Facebook, and I have a new betta named Vincent Van Gogh, and he is a short fin betta, and I've never had a short fin betta before. And what they should actually call them, they call them koi bettas or short fin bettas, but what they should say is highly territorial action betta. I mean, he will stare down a plant and be like, do you belong here? Do you have your plant ID on you? Let me see your let me see your identification green thing I don't recognize. He's super funny. He's been cracking me up lately. And he like already is starting to like know how his feedings are going and like what people feed, and he's starting to do that facial recognition thing, which I think is really amazing about bettas. I'm enjoying him quite a lot. And he's got some snail companions, and I'm really glad that the snails have shells. I'll tell you that right now, because he's a bit rude sometimes. He's a little bit rude.
Just
a little bit. He does go around the tank, like to every rock and twig, like, are you looking at me? Are you looking at me? to me right here. Oh my gosh.
You've done really good today.
We're doing really good. I want you to share that story, that news story you found about the restaurateur that bought the sculpture.
Oh no! Okay, I have to go look that up because I don't want to get that wrong. But we'll definitely share that. That's a good one. I'll.
You're gonna share that one.
We'll share that one, but I want to make sure I get all
kind
this.
of see it's starting to be a thing. It's starting to be kind of a little thing.
Yeah.
Now I'm gonna go over here, and I'm not gonna make them sharp because I do want them to be fuzzy, but they need to have a little more color. You can give me a new step. Mm. Okay, that seems like a good place to be. I'm just going to get these guys in. So I'm going to put these little guys in a little bit more. Because even though they're a little out of focus, they should still read as grapes. You know what I'm saying? Let those be there for a second, and then I'm going to get a little of my white over here. Ooh, that's too much. Too much white. Too much. It's okay. You know, when there's too much, we just mix it till we like it. We don't panic. We don't worry. We just find the color and we go. And I can come back here with my little blending brush that I had from earlier. There we go. So they're back there a little bit. We just want to make sure that they're back there. Now, John has pointed out the time, which is really good because with what's going on with me, I do have a count, like kind of little clock. We might go a little longer on our last day. Or we might break it up into 2 days, depending on how I'm feeling.
So you think you're wrapping up here?
Yeah, I think I'll let it be here because this is a good place for you guys to catch up to. You get to here. The rest of it is sort of a downhill ride. You know, once you get this basic stuff up, you're going to have a still life that you like. You could get it with just reflections from here.
Yeah.
But we're going to add more wood detail next time. We're going to add more apple detail, more leaf detail, more grape detail, more grape detail, more detail, reflections. And that's going to start to pull us all together into a lovely, lovely still life. Hope Healer says those purples are gorgeous. And then Hope Healer's also, what is a crisp? It is a potato chip, I believe.
Yep. That's generally speaking, they're crisps or chips.
It took me forever to figure out that stuffy was, no, it wasn't, was it stuffy? What do they call it? I think it was like stuffy. It was
I don't remember.
Stuffed animal. I don't know why I didn't put that together. It was like, what are we talking about? The weird things that like should be super like in my knowledge base that somehow weirdly are not is always interesting to me. Like, cause I'll be like, cause I'll ask a question. Because I believe there are no silly questions.
Is this the Coke Pop or soda question?
Yeah. It's okay to ask those questions. And by the way, if you have a question for me about like anything, I do try to come in and answer comments. So if you're finding this on the replay and you find yourself having a question, go ahead and ask it in the comments. I check my YouTube channel every day. And you just never know. And then next Saturday is within 1 p.m. So same bat time, same bat channel. We're going to be getting together and continuing on to finish our nice little still life together. And we're going to be resolving more details and pulling it all together. The brushes that I expect to be using, I expect to get back into my Deerfoot stippler. I expect to be into my round blenders. And I also expect to get into my Filbert grainer. Now this is a 3/8 inch Filbert grainer by Princeton Velvet Touch. This is a really lovely brush. If you don't have this brush, but you have a Filbert you don't mind getting a pair of scissors into, like say you had one like this, you would just take scissors and go snippy, 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 snip, and make it uneven and kind of ratty at the ends, and you would get the same effect. So don't feel like you've got to go buy something. Sometimes you can repurpose something, but if you can, I do recommend it. And this will make John happy. It's at our store.
Yay.
So you can get it there if you wanted one. All right, guys, the big thing is remember that art is supposed to be fun and it's supposed to feel good. And it's not, it's supposed to be something that lightens your spirit and lightens your soul. So, if you're having a hard time or you're feeling frustrated, put the brushes down, take a little break, take a breath, take a breather. A lot of times with the painting, my mom and I talk a lot about how we don't like every painting the day we finish. And certainly when a painting is in a middle stage, especially with acrylic, you might not feel entirely in love with your painting at that stage. But give it time, because as you sit with something, as you sit with your art, I swear it will grow on you. And you'll start to like it more and more and more, because you'll start to soften on all that inner criticism, and the part of your brain, which is the better part of your brain, which remembers to cheer you on, will be like, hey, you did that pretty well. Or, oh, look at that area you did well. And you'll start to feel better and like the painting a little bit more. So we're going to get it all the way over the edge next time. I want you guys to be good to yourselves, be good to each other, and I will see you at an easel Saturday at 1 p.m. Eastern. Bye-bye.